Now, the world is a place where nothing is black or white. It's all a bit in between. The shades of grey weaves through every facet of life, and this universal truth finds its resonance in football as well. The sport has its own mix of characters. Take, for example, this man that you see behind me, Jose Mourinho, the special one. Now, he is one of the reasons fans come to watch the sport. The unique quirkiness is what people love about him on and off the field, and his success stories, of course, precede him. But clearly, this was too much for AS Roma to handle and deal with. He was the manager of the club, AS Roma, I say was, a club that plays in Serie A. It's an Italian football league. Yesterday, the club parted ways with him. And I'm putting it mildly, they sacked him. No transition period. The termination was with immediate effect. Let me quote what Roma said. They said, AS Roma can confirm that Jose Mourinho and his coaching staff will leave the club with immediate effect. Further updates on the new first team coaching staff will follow immediately. Further updates will follow immediately or imminently. Roma actually meant it when they said it. It took a lot of people by surprise, including Jose Mourinho. Some reports even claimed the club owners held a meeting for just around 25 minutes before he was let go of. And shortly thereafter came the announcement of the new manager.
Muy bien, ahora antes de que finalice el acto, Daniele, te pedimos que te quedes un ratito.
The man that you saw, all smiles, shaking hands with all the players, greeting them and being welcomed with a lot of love, was Daniele De Rossi. He's a former player of the same club. So the chronology of events then that came to this almost makes it appear it was decided way before. We'll not dwell on that speculation right away, but seems like they might have overlooked a tiny fact that under the same Portuguese manager, Roma achieved historic wins. Although they were few and far in between, it would seem. Roma won the European Conference League in 2021-22, landed them as runners-up of the Europa League in 2023, just last year. That brings me to the question, were they right in letting Jose Mourinho go? As disappointing as it is for Mourinho fans, the answer perhaps is a yes. For the club owners themselves to understand this, you have to go past the club on-field performances alone. He wasn't fired because, according to reports, he fell out with some of the players or because of the 7 send-offs in the 2 seasons or the many red cards. But probably there is some indication in all of that as well of the possible frustration that was building up in Jose Mourinho himself, a man who's used to managing big teams and big players, all of which AS Roma is not. So one of the reasons could be owing to the club spending a bomb over the last 2 seasons. Roma reportedly splurged close to $430 million combined in 2020 and 2023. Reports suggest they sustained heavy losses in 2020-21 and were one of the highest spenders on transfers in Europe. It reached to a point where they violated UEFA's financial regulations and were forced to restrict their spending. Their initial gamble was spending on the squad and, of course, Jose Mourinho as well, who happens to be the second highest paid manager in Serie A. So naturally, for the money being pumped in, they expected consistent performances that would fetch them the money. Instead, they finished 6th in their first 2 seasons. Roma is languishing now in the 9th spot in Serie A. They've just managed 1 win out of the last 6 league games. This Sunday, they suffered a 1-3 loss to AC Milan, who happened to be one of their main rivals. Now they are 22 points away from the top. Last week, Roma fell out of Coppa Italia as well. So this is the club sort of getting rid of him after a hurricane of losses, a rather dismal run for the club. Behind the scenes, the club's decision might seem like it's all about poor performances on the field, lack of deliverance and frustration seeping in. But if you take a peek behind the story, as we've said, there is, of course, a financial plot hiding. Money matters. Maybe Mourinho could have pulled it all off, created a stunning turnaround. He managed champion sides in the past. He's a proven winner. But that would have given him the leverage, given him more bargaining power. And Roma, of course, couldn't have that. So a smart move to appease fans by roping in one of their own as managers as well. Smart play. especially with the fixtures, the kind of fixtures that are coming up. They are at the home ground, Verona on Jan 20th and Cagliari on February 6th. So they would fancy their chances here and from here probably see an upswing. That brings me to the last question. What legacy did Mourinho leave behind and what's the bigger picture here for the special one from this point on? And this sudden change might actually be a blessing in disguise. He's a unique coach. Not many understand him quite that well and get his uncanny approach, but the rest sort of sense where the magic lies. He's meant for the big and more eminent and prominent clubs. Consider it like a whale that was stuck in a pond but has been finally freed and will navigate the vast ocean of opportunities. Mourinho is known for his outspokenness, yet sometimes controversial demeanor. After Roma were knocked out of Coppa Italia, for example, this is what he said.
The Roma fans are the most incredible I have ever seen. The coach is called Jose Harry Mourinho Potter and he raises expectations. We are fighting a very difficult battle, but nobody will tell us we can't fight against Milan. We will be there.
Perhaps he was implying fans to lower their expectations, or maybe he was referring to the fact that his magic touch is yet to be seen. His reign at Roma might have ended rather swiftly to take shape, but wouldn't be long though before he finds himself another gig. What a colourful, glorious past he's had. String of strong European clubs that he's managed like Porto, Chelsea, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Manchester United. Achievements, of course, all well documented and recorded. So our final takeaway from the Roma Jose Mourinho saga. Though the special one did do a trick for them, the mind and the pockets do not run that deep here to continue giving that long rope. And somewhere, people realized that Mourinho's ways were an utter misfit for Roma from the very start.